drivers, start your engine! Entering its 7th season, the Lapped Traffic Podcast has brought you over 300 shows, driver and media interviews, awesome stories and entertainment, and one of the coolest fantasy leagues around. Get ready for another exciting season. Sit back, relax, and try not to get lapped. Now, here's your host, the Professor, Brendan Cross.
What is up, Lap Traffic Nation? Welcome to episode 321 of the Lap Traffic Podcast. Yes, I am your host, the Professor, Brandon Crowd. Hope everyone had a great weekend. There is so much to talk about. I'm just going to set the tone right now. I got a long monologue, long intro, whatever you want to call it. But here's what I will tell you. If you haven't checked out the title of the show to see who's on, you are not going to want to miss NASCARCASM making his 11th appearance on the show. So stick around. Kaz is going to be on in just a little bit. I put some questions out to you guys that I have, and there's just a lot to get into. Didn't do a show last week. So I want to start with this off the bat. I was listening to one of my favorite podcasts, which is the Drew and Mike podcast. I've talked about them a couple times over the years here or there. They used to do Detroit radio and have been doing a podcast, and they were talking about their listen notes ranking and how they were in the top 0.5%. And I'm like, damn, that's impressive. Consider, you think of the Joe Rogans out there and what their audience must be. And these guys, while they're huge and have a huge following in Metro Detroit, that's awesome. And I'm like, God, I wonder what mine could possibly be. So I go to Listen Notes, which is very reputable, and I type in my Lap Traffic Podcast, and lo and behold, ranks in the top 1.5% out of over 3.7 million podcasts. Now, I have no idea what that means, but that just sounds pretty badass in my opinion. So, I did a little bit more deep diving, some comparisons, and, there are a lot that hit that category mark, right? Like, it's not ranked 1 to 3 million, obviously. There are caveats and things of that nature. But just knowing how many podcasts there are, both professionally done, both from the amateur side of things that are done, how many people pop up and do 2 shows, decide it's not for them. A lot of factors, a lot of podcasts out there. But I do think that, top 1.5 doesn't mean... it can't be a bad thing. So first of all, I just want to thank everybody for all of the support, all of the retweets, all of the listens, all of the downloads. And I can't thank you enough, because I needed to see that, because I got to apologize as well as I talk about that being ranked in the top 1.5%, because normally if you've been a fan or if you've listened to the show for the last 7 years, normally I do 40 plus shows a season. There's bonus shows thrown in the mix. And tonight is only episode 21 of the season, so to speak. So it's basically half of what I normally do. And I am bummed not to be here each week, no bonus shows. But the reality is that the real job has been very, very stressful and demanding. On top of, obviously, having an 18-month-old will keep you very busy and change some focus and some goals and take up some free time and all of that, which obviously, and I don't want to miss any quality time with Alden, who actually is going to be 19 months this weekend, which is crazy. So life has kind of taken over a little bit for sure. And Lindsay and I talked about it. There were a few times this year where I thought about just throwing in the towel for the season, since I can't be as dedicated as I want to be. But she talked me out of that, which is good. And seeing that ranking definitely helped keep the spark alive in me, which is good. And I will say to you now, I will do as many shows as possible between now and the end of the season. I don't know how many that will be. I will obviously be back next year in probably a similar capacity. And we'll definitely kind of, revamp the show a little bit in terms of, I'm probably not going to talk about the weeklies races, and it might just be more interview focused. The interviews maybe I'll collect a few and then drop them in, so they may not be as race specific. They may be, I may approach interviews from a more general perspective. But nonetheless, thank you all for understanding and sticking along for the ride. It's been very busy over here, and looking forward to capping off season 7 and doing a little revamp going into next year and seeing what the future holds for the podcast and still continuing to grow this thing as much as possible. So there's my little spiel there. Weekend busy over here. We had an afternoon wedding on Saturday, which was awesome. Had a golf tournament for the golf league, which is now over. Had that on Sunday. Your boy over here kicked some serious ass, maybe won the tournament, shot a 87, got a little help with the handicap, which took it down to a 68. But any day I shoot a raw 87, I will take that all day long. Couple birdies, few pars, won a greenie. It's nice to play well. I enjoyed every second of that. Hope you guys enjoyed the last show, episode 320, with truck champ contender Grant Enfinger. It was great to have Grant on, and as I mentioned a few minutes ago, I'm going to have NASCARCASM on here in just a minute and see what kind of shenanigans old Kaz can cook up, as well as get to some of your guys' take. Lap Traffic Fantasy, we're going to cut the league in half. We expanded the playoffs to 24, and we're going to go down to 12 here after this week at Bristol. Lots to talk about. So let's get NASCARCASM on the line. All right, Lap Traffic Nation, joining me on the line, making his 11th appearance on the show. He is the legendary NASCARCASM. Kaz, what's up, brother? How are you, man?
11 times? Is that accurate?
That is accurate, yes. I have a spreadsheet and everything with everybody. There's been over 160 different guests over the last 7 years, and the legendary Jeff Striegel tops the appearance list, but you are in the top 5, sir.
Wow, 11 times.
Yes.
Man, I just really got to think of a better way to spend my free time. My gosh. No, I'm just kidding, Brandon. I'm just kidding.
I love it.
Love it all. Love you. Love the podcast, man.
Thanks,
it's all good.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So what's new, man? It's been a minute since you've been on. Glad to have you back, and excited to catch up with you. But what's new? How was the summer? Anything fun and exciting outside of the NASCAR side of things?
Yeah, we been to a few races this year over the summer. We were able to, this is a total name drop, but one of the places we've always wanted to visit during the summer break in the schedule, we've always wanted to go to Canada, to the Canadian Rockies, the Banff, Golden, Jasper area. And not only is that area just stunningly beautiful, picturesque, it's like a desktop pattern come to life. We also got to hang for one morning with Cole Pearn.
Oh, no kidding.
Up there, and I got to catch up with Cole a little bit. That was a lot of fun. He ain't coming back. That's all I'll say. I've seen the area where he lives, and I completely understand now.
That's awesome. Yeah, good times. Good times.
Yeah, but other than that, just let's see, where have we been this year? Went to Coda, went to Talladega, Indy Road Course, obviously. Just got back from Daytona. We're heading down to Bristol this weekend. It's been a pretty busy year.
Awesome. Good deal. Okay. Yeah. Take the if you can, because obviously for those that don't know, you work with NASCAR.com, so I understand that some responses are dictated by that. Are you excited?
Of course.
Are you excited to go to Bristol without dirt on the track?
Yes, I am. Okay. I love Bristol in any form. To me, Bristol's like cake. I don't care what's on it, bro. I don't care what is on top of it, bro. I will
Just give me more.
I will eat it up. That's exactly what it is. Absolutely. But it's fun. It's different. It's odd to come back from the Bristol Dirt Race. I was there earlier this year. To wash dirt out of places you didn't know dirt could get. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, with the having Bristol be an elimination race, I mean, that's just fantastic.
Awesome.
We never missed this one. And so, yeah, I guess, it would bode well for Christopher Buescher, would it not? He won this one last year.
Yeah, no, for sure. And what a hot streak. I mean, that's somebody that you have to be talking about right now. I mean, here's somebody that, you want to talk, and I'm going to kind of go and steal a Mike Tirico quote here, talking about the Lions win over Kansas City, and says, there's an asterisk next to that. Here's somebody whose lone win, depending on your take on the sport, maybe had an asterisk next to that Pocono win, and has gone out and silenced the naysayers here. And I love everything about this run that team is on right now.
Yeah, no, that was I guess I would understand if you'd slap a little asterisk next to that one, because it's not like he's the only driver to win a weather shortened race. They count,
absolutely.
They absolutely count in the record books. But Fog, that's a weird one, man. For him to go out on this year and just absolutely slay, it's just great to see Brad and the team only take 1 year to really start having that team fire on all cylinders like that. It's not just Chris, winning races. It's that, Brad is running well too. And yeah, are they this year's track house? One could argue that that's the case.
No, I agree. It's fun to see these teams come to this fruition, if you will. Not to say that everybody's clamoring for it, but it's definitely refreshing to see. Okay, great. It's not just Kyle Busch or Denny Hamlin and Kevin Harvick going out and flip-flopping wins. And, we're talking about 12, 13, 14 different winners, or we're talking about somebody that comes in from a completely different sport and picks up a win. I mean, that's incredible to see. It's from a fan perspective. I mean, it's got gold written all over it because it's talking points left and right.
Yeah, no, my idea, which obviously no one ever listens to, but my thought was, if you were a playoff driver and if you DNF at Darlington, the first race of the playoffs in the first stage, that Shane Van Gisbergen should get your spot in the playoffs. I thought that should happen. If that happened, like just one little added wrinkle, one little added twist.
I love it.
To just have him sitting, like waiting in a glass box somewhere on the premises, and just Shane ready to hop in, Project 91.
What
just put a little more pressure on these guys.
Absolutely. No, what a great caveat to throw in there.
Darn right.
As something. I love it. Speaking of Shane and all that, what did you think of the Chicago race? I mean, obviously the rain and the weather could leave a bad taste, but you take that out. The fact we got it in, NASCAR had to make some calls in terms of track time and length and all of that, but I mean, to me, I can't wait to watch that race again on TV next year.
Oh yeah,
that was great.
I genuinely think that was a triumph worthy of a 30 for 30. I really do. Now I know that there was a lot of stuff that went haywire. I know that 3 of the 4 concerts couldn't happen due to the rain. I know it had to be delayed. I know that the race had to be shortened. But all those things aside, if you looked at that weather map early in the day, you thought that it would be a cold day in hell when they get this race going.
Right.
And somehow, some way, they got most of it in, and it was absolutely thrilling. So, yeah, I considered the entire thing a triumph. I thought, basically all the factors were there. I mean, hate to use the term a perfect storm, but what a great pun there for a guy who has never run a cup race before to win. It's a street course these guys have never done it. It's a brand new street course that these guys had never raced. Various other things, very narrow racetrack. And Shane was used to all these things. And yeah, it was the whole situation was just right for a first time winner or a surprise winner like Shane. And, by once the weather finally cleared out, it was just cool seeing fans get back into the stands and watch, seeing residents standing atop subway station, like walkway roofs to get a peek at the action. I certainly loved all of it. I hope we go back because I am going back next year.
Yeah, no, I thought it was fantastic. I think the from the fan perspective, or not even fan, but that wasn't just sold as a race. Come buy a race ticket. It was sold, and marketed as an event, an extravaganza. Just like, I know you've been to many Indy 500s. It's an event. It is. You may have people that are coming. Oh, there's a race going on. I'm here for this. The atmosphere, the people. And to be able to witness history, even though I may never watch another Indy race or anything like that. So that's where I hope next year that doesn't, or I hope this year doesn't deter people from reinvesting into that, because that atmosphere, would have been electric. Yeah. It was electric with a very small percentage of those that were still there. So no, what a great opportunity. Yeah. Great opportunity.
I mean, if we're to talk about things that need an asterisk on them, even with, I would say, the overall success the race was, you've got to slap a giant wet asterisk on that entire event. There was a lot that went wrong, a lot that was out of our control. But next year, if everything goes, everything operates properly, and Mother Nature decides to not be a total succubus about it,
right?
Doesn't decide to circulate the same storm over Lake Michigan and cause a biblical flood that causes the Chicago River to spill over.
Yes.
Oh God, that was mean. But yeah, I mean, if you could imagine that entire event, 3 days with optimal weather. It's almost like a mini Lollapalooza with a race around it. You got, 4 very good, very different bands, different genres of music out there, things for the fans to do. I'm totally going. Now, I wasn't able to go this year. I had a family commitment, but if this thing pops off again next year, I'm going. Now, the only thing I would like to have happen next year is we had Cubs night at Wrigley Field, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a couple nights before. Now, it was Harrison Burton, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., and I forget who else, who were there to throw out the first pitch and be the guest conductor for Take Me Out to the Ball Game. But here's what I propose. Years and years ago, you know how they've had guest conductors for the seventh inning stretch at Wrigley Field for years, since the passing of Harry Carey, right? If you Google or look for on YouTube the worst performances of the Take Me Out to the Ball Game ever, Jeff Gordon is always on it. Yeah, it's like Mike Ditka, the Osbournes, and Jeff Gordon. He called it Wrigley Stadium for one. He kind of botched the lyrics. It's not that hard. It's right. Like a short song, Jeff. Yeah. And so what I would like to do is I would like to have a Jeff Gordon redemption performance. I would say, he could show up, and if he calls it, hey, Wrigley Field, boom, he's already doing better. And he can read the lyrics off his phone. We can, it's just, that's what I would like to see happen.
A Jeff Gordon redemption. I love it. That
yes.
would be cool.
Yeah.
That would be. Yeah. I could see that. Why not? Right? Like,
I know. Why not? Let's dream big here.
Yes.
I mean, granted, Stenhouse and the crew, they actually did a really pretty good job. I mean, the team lost, but still, they did a pretty good job. But I just think it's like we could just finally have this redemption performance for Jeff, and it would go over really well.
Should we let Roseanne get a redemption on her Star Spangled Banner from however many years ago that was?
No comment, Brandon. No comment, buddy. We're just next topic. What else is on the show sheet? Gosh, you okay there?
Yep. I'm good. Okay. Stage breaks back at the Roval. What do you think about that?
Oh, I mean, the Roval is chaos. The Roval has always been chaos. So I think that with the added restart zone that actually goes through. They're going through the chicane now. The restart zones will go through the chicane as opposed to right down the straightaway like they previously did. You know, chaos is chaos, and so I say inject all of it. You know,
Yes.
we didn't design the Roval to have a nice leisurely road course race. You know, we really didn't. I don't think that was ever the purpose of it. So I'm good with it, and I'm pretty sure. I mean, everybody's reaction is pretty hyperbolic the day of.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
But again, once we see like one or two stage break restarts, everyone will, you know, if we see people cheering or if there's, you know, another 20 car shunt controller disconnected moment right into the tire barrier of turn one, we'll all be pumping fists, man.
Right,
It's no big deal.
Yep. It's the playoffs, right?
Yes.
Yes, it is the playoffs. Let's see. Last couple things. Kevin Harvick still searching for his first win of his retirement year. I know we all can't pull out a crystal ball, but you know, what do you think we might see out of that 4 team these last 8 races now?
Oh boy, man, I don't know. It's weird to say they've been the bright spot for Stewart-Haas Racing this year because that's been rough, man.
Mm-hmm.
And if you you look at the unfortunate performance of the other cars, you got to assume that in spite of that, they somehow managed to point their way into the playoffs. And again, that's got to be viewed as a success. Boy, oh boy, I would say if I were to pick, I would think that he points his way into the next round.
Sure.
And I'm basing that on absolutely nothing, Brandon.
Yep. No,
I'm just hoping.
I'm with you.
And that, maybe in the next round, he could, he's been pretty decent at Texas. I could say that he could be the one who pulls a surprise win at Texas and winds up being that lucky soul in the round of 12 that does not have to worry about Talladega or the Roval.
I love it. I love that.
Yeah, because the round of 12, it's just the gauntlet, man.
It is.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it is. Yeah, it's the like I said, you're going to go through some shit, man. Yeah, you're gonna go through hell here.
Yes. No, I love the last couple of years, the playoff schedule for the Cup Series has been impeccable. Like we talked about a little bit ago, Bristol closing out round 1, the fact that you've got the Roval in there, which is perfect.
Yeah.
You've got the super speedway. You have to have a super speedway in there. Kansas has put on some great, I mean, you've got a taste of everything, but that one round, that is survival of the fittest, do or die. You've got to be perfect.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at, if you look at Talladega and the Roval, it's like, are we sure we shouldn't just cover Texas in dirt? I mean, let's just make this entire round.
Let's do it.
An absolute like blender. Let's just put him through hell.
Absolutely.
So yeah, but that would be my pick. He points his way through, and then he will not steal a win. He will win at Texas and be the absolute stunner into the round of 8. It always seems like there's that one team that defies, all expectation and makes its way into the Final Four, the Championship 4 there. So, heck, maybe it's him this year.
Why? Hey, we've seen crazier things happen. That is for sure.
Oh, yeah.
One of the things everyone knows that you are very famous for over at NASCAR.com are the fake texts from the winning drivers. What else you got working on? Anything you want to hype up? Anything you want to talk about from NASCAR.com, sir?
I'm actually, if you want to see this kind of sort of plain, homely face now, I've actually started working a lot over on the NASCAR TikTok, Brandon.
Really?
We're working over there. We're going to start doing a little bit more over there. Boy, it's a lot of fun. I didn't realize it at the time, but it is a lot of fun. And so that's what I'm hoping to do when we get to Bristol is have a little fun with some drivers. Got some ideas set up. So yeah, if you're on the talk,
I am.
What's the age of your average listener, Brandon?
I would say probably 30 plus. So not many talkers. I have a talk account.
Okay. Yeah.
And
exactly. Get yourself. Yeah.
here's the thing. Like I just run out of time in the day, right? So I have creative NASCAR ideas. Like I had this whole thing in my mind. I'll give you a quick story here. So the Alden, he turned 1 in February. I bought him a fire suit for his birthday outfit. So I was going to do this whole thing, post-race, TikTok, like poking fun of the race as him and Victory Lane each week. And I'm like, I think I could really do something with this. Never did one video, like, because I'm just like, between the real job, this family life, like I just legit ran out of time, and I'm like, man, that's the perfect thing for TikTok. That's the perfect type of stuff. That's
make room, man. If you become TikTok famous, you can quit that day job.
I know.
I mean, you've seen some of these people that are able to make a career on TikTok.
Yes,
my God, it's depressing.
It is very depressing.
It's depressing in that. I mean, I can't really, as someone who did that on Twitter, it's not like I can talk about someone who did it on TikTok. More power to them. It's there's just so many ways to be famous these days. There really is.
Yes.
Except for Threads. No one cares about Threads.
No one cares about Threads. That is a true statement.
Yeah.
I'm starting to think no one cares about podcasts, because it's like, it blows my mind in terms of like the numbers one show will do, but then the next week won't. It's like, wait, well, I mean, and I get it. Everybody's got a podcast, and it's like, I got to find a new creative way to stay relevant and keep that name out there. And TikTok might have to start getting some attention from me.
What why not, man? Put yourself out there.
Yes.
Put yourself on the talk. Put yourself on the Be Real. Put yourself on the Tinder. Wait, not that one. Not that one. No. Sorry, don't do that. Don't do that. You're not that desperate.
No,
for,
God, no.
Money.
No. I need an intern. That's what I need. I need someone that wants to, I'm an LLC, so I can actually write a letter. So if there's anyone that wants a unpaid internship with the Lap Traffic Podcast, let me know.
I mean, Harbaugh's not doing much now.
Could you get him? I got a week for him. There we go.
Perfect.
I love it. What a way to end. Chasm, thank you so much, brother, for coming on the show. I appreciate you. Enjoy the playoffs. Safe trip down to Bristol this weekend. And I appreciate you as always, and look forward to appearance number 12 here at some point.
Oh yeah, me too. Number 12. It's got to be good. I got to think of something better for that.
Well, hey, so here's the thing. I was looking back. It's like, when you would typically come on the show, and there were a few years it was always around the Peeps 400. So I don't know, maybe you can incorporate that back into TikTok in some fashion.
Yeah. So for those concerned who have asked, here's what's going on with that. We got a new microwave, a nice new microwave. And so what I'm going to have to do is this coming year, I'm going to have to purchase a used crappy microwave that will solely be for the Peeps 400, because I can't melt 16 Peeps in this really nice new microwave. And that was the holdup. There's always issues about it, there's always cancellations, there's always considerations, and that would be mine.
Yes. No,
so we'll get it back going, and like you said, maybe TikTok is the proper avenue for it.
Yeah, you need like that $5 25-year-old Facebook Marketplace estate sale microwave that's from 1986.
Oh yeah, there's nothing better than an estate sale one where it's like this belonged to a dead person. Enjoy.
Yes. With 15 years of caked pasta that blew up inside of it.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. It's all yours, man. Yep. It's all yours.
I love it. All right, man. Thank you so much for coming on, and we'll catch you soon, man.
You bet.
We'll see
awesome. Thanks for having me on.
Yep. We'll see you. Always a great time talking to NASCARCASM. Such a treat to have him on. And, I mean, I couldn't go a full year without having him on. So glad we were able to put that all together for you guys. All right, let's talk some actual racing from this past weekend. All right, let's do just a little bit of a reset from where we're at across all three series. Christian Eckes obviously picking up the win in the Truck Series this weekend. Is that not how you want a playoff race to end? 3 wide between the 11th, 38th, and 19th. Here's what I will say. Tough break for Matty D. I know his fan base is bummed out about that. Made a bid for it. Props, they did make the playoffs, and news came out that he was not going to be back with that organization here next year. So it's a tough break there, and very curious to see where Matt DiBenedetto lands. Will he get another truck ride? Xfinity, only so many spots out there, so curious to see. I would imagine something is in the works, otherwise that statement may not have come out as early as we're, have we quote unquote hit silly season yet? Curious to see what happens with Matty D. Sanchez has some work to do along with Ben Rhodes, but the top 6 are all right there, which is awesome. And we've got Bristol this Thursday night, Talladega, and Homestead to determine our final 4. When you look at it, Corey Heim, Christian Eckes, Grant Enfinger, Carson Hocevar, Zane Smith, Ty Majeski are all just, within 14 points of each other, So that is that's going to be a hell of a battle for the final 4 in the Truck Series. Over to the Xfinity Series, John Hunter Nemechek just flat out dominated the last race of the regular season. It's crazy that, trucks, here we are already, had a cutoff race. Playoffs and the Cup Series side of things, this weekend's our cutoff race. I feel like the Xfinity Series lost some attention in that regard, and that this weekend was the last regular season race. Part of that may be due to a not so present bubble and things kind of already being what they may, and just a matter of getting to the playoffs in general. But that said, here John Hunter Nemechek up top the leaderboard. 49 points separating him and 12th place Parker Kligerman on the reset. Parker was on a couple weeks ago, which was cool. But the cut line between 8th and 12th, we're only talking 6 points. So this will be a battle now that things are underway and that the grid is set. Daniel Hemrick's kind of just really had a downturn since he won that championship a couple years ago. Jeb Burton's still young, Sammy Smith's still young, both with wins, so there's that. What can Parker Kligerman do? Can he go maybe shock everybody at the Roval, maybe win his way into the next round? Very curious to see there. And Cole Custer, I want to talk about him for a minute. He's somebody, obviously, I don't know, you want to say step backwards, but went from Cup racing back to the Xfinity Series, where he dominated when he was there in his first go around. And it was a very, very slow start for Cole Custer this season, but ended up 2 wins. And here he is sitting 4th on the reseed. So Cole Custer could go and make another bid for a championship here. So excited to see how this all plays out. Like I said, now that everything is set and they're going to start their playoffs here. And I can't comment enough on how much I wish the Cup Series was at 12 drivers and not 16. But I have hashed that out a number of times and am not going to go down that rabbit hole at the moment. What I will do is talk about Tyler Reddick in the Cup Series and how he just doesn't win on road courses and super speedways. He is getting it done everywhere. Going out at Kansas, putting on a nice performance there. And ironically, as I talk about Cole Custer a couple minutes ago in terms of, it was Cole and Tyler battling for the Xfinity Series championship a couple years ago. And what a different trajectory between Tyler Reddick and Cole Custer. And if you looking back on it, when Cole and Tyler were the top of the field in the Xfinity Series, we were, I know I was, and part of it may be Homer related because of Kevin Harvick and SHR, but, Cole was looking like he was stepping into the more, dominant ride potentially, or the dominant team at SHR who was just going out there and kicking ass. And, RCR was still quote unquote rebuilding. And, now you've got Tyler Riddick that's moved on over to 2311, and here he is, winning playoff races in the playoffs, and sitting here second. Definitely, obviously, going to make it on to the next round, and good potential at least to the Final Four potentially. So we will see what happens there. All right, so now I asked you guys some questions yesterday, today, and want to have some fun with that. One of the things that I had just put out there, what do you guys want me to talk about? It's been a minute since I've done just a random discussion topic, if you will. So Donna, good friend of the show at I Loves Fast Tracks, what penalties don't seem the same for every team? Great question there. And I think it's the haves and the have-nots potentially, maybe get a little bit different treatment, but we see that across all sports, right? Like Tom Brady, what would be a roughing the passer call on him, maybe isn't a roughing the passer call on a, rookie quarterback because they haven't earned their stripes yet, So from that regard, I think, and it's not even so much the penalties. I think it's what they define as penalties, or, maybe the car selection back to the R&D, because technically everything from a pit stop perspective is all digitalized. It's all computerized. And, it's that should be as black and white can be. I think it more or less becomes where we maybe see some leniency would be on track, assessed penalties, and what that boils down to in terms of, well, what team is it, and in that regard. And, obviously, your big three, your big four, maybe get a little extra treatment, because they're the ones that are selling the tickets and bringing the fans in, so to speak. So, NASCAR would say no. Is it a possibility from the fans' eyes? I totally can see that. Randall at Zinn will win 4. Will Ross be a Final Four contender? If Ross gets back to doing Ross Chastain things to where he's forcing himself to victory lane, I'd say yeah. And we haven't seen that out of him, I feel like. We're talking about one race win out of Ross, been in position multiple times, but I feel like going to Bristol, it's a scrappy race. That's how Ross likes to run. He likes to go out there and fight his way to the front. So if we're talking about a Ross Chastain this weekend at Bristol, I wouldn't be surprised about that. I wouldn't be surprised at the Roval. I very well could see the potential of Ross Chastain in the Final Four. But however, just based on where we're at now, if he doesn't make it, I'm not going to be surprised either. There are a lot of drivers that just aren't friends on the track. Denny's got his people. Kyle Larson has his people out there. Honestly, right now, and here's the thing: the cleanest racing drivers, Tyler Riddick. Tyler Riddick minds his P's and Q's out there, I feel like. Ryan Blaney does the same thing. Kyle Busch, honestly, does the same thing. He's very difficult to pass, but that's because he's Kyle Busch. So it is it's an interesting field in terms of who we're talking about are the more polite drivers than who we were talking about maybe, 5 years ago. So I could see it either way. If I had to, pick fantasy wise, would I put him there? I'd probably have him 5th. I'd probably have him being the first guy that doesn't make it, because I think it's going to come down to winning each of these. I think once we get to the round of 8, the Final Four will be done by wins, with only one person making it in on points. Let's see here. Jeremy at Living Room War Wagon. Does NASCAR still have the redneck sport persona? And I think this is a great question too. And obviously opinionated here. I think if you are not a fan of the sport, the general consensus would be to label NASCAR as the redneck sport, because that's what, was the persona in the past, right? I think if you're a fan of the sport, I think if you are even a casual person, or I think if you've been to one race in the last 5 years, I think it would be hard to give that label, just in terms of who comes to the track. I mean, you've got everybody that comes to the racetrack. You've got the dad bringing his son. You've got the guy that's been to that race for the last 30 years. You've got the executives. You've got the sponsors. I mean, if you really step back and look at who's attending a race week in, week out, I mean, there are so many different types of people. You got white collar, you got blue collar, you've got people from this country, you got people that have flown in, from a manufacturer perspective or a parts perspective. I mean, it is just such a diverse crowd at the race. Maybe you don't see it in that regard walking around the fan plaza area, so to speak, but when you realize who truly is at the track in large quantities, I don't see how you could give it that label anymore. Bob at Jumpy Bob, I'd like to see a 2-tire manufacturer system return to the sport. Hoosier and Goodyear. I mean, Tony Stewart was talking about that, 10, 15 years ago, in terms of just how bad of a tire product Goodyear puts out there. I think that would be awesome. Competition and, who can develop the best tire. And I think you do that. I guess it just depends on how do you roll that out. Is it you have to make the decision on which tire you are going to use at the start of the season, and you're committed to that tire for that season? I don't like that way about it. What I'd love to see is an extra 20-minute practice to where you go slap on a Goodyear and you can go slap on a Hoosier, make a few laps depending upon what track you're at. Go give them 25 laps at Bristol, give them 25 laps at Martinsville, give them 5 laps at Michigan, so that they can see and then make their call which tire they're going to want to use for that race. I think that would be absolutely awesome. Obviously, though, it would be very costly, if Hoosier and Goodyear are both bringing enough tires for everybody to choose them as their primary. Someone may be going home with a lot of rubber in their truck. But anyways, I think that would be fantastic. I'd love to see the competition. Scott, 1985 Wagner. Don't talk about how bad the Huskers suck. Okay, I'll just talk about how awesome the University of Michigan is and how awesome our football program is, even though we do still have a little bit of work to do. Do you think when playoffs start that drivers shouldn't jump in cars that are in a division that hasn't started yet? I'm using Denny as an example. I don't think Junior should be running at Bristol since it's a playoff race. I can feel where you're coming from on that, and I don't necessarily disagree. I agree on the Denny side of things, especially since he's running for a championship in another series. Not as upset about it with Junior since he's not competing in any series. But on the same token, my thing is, which I see, is that when we put such emphasis on wins, and Junior is out there and potentially running a race, what if he wins? And what if the guy in second place would have won had Junior not been out there, which would have been an advancement to the next round? And what if that guy wrecks the next 2 races and misses it on points? So I could be talked into it because of that. So, yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with you there, sir. All right, another thing I threw out to you guys was, what tracks over the years have you gone from not wanting to watch to I have to watch, and vice versa? And Mick first off, that question was inspired by Racing Cancian, who was on the last show, who talked about going to the couple races with a particular T-shirt, and he sent that over to me in a text. I'm like, I like that. I'm stealing that for the show. So credit to at Racing Cants for this question. And Mick at GoDucks_5. I thought Kansas always put on a pretty good race, but a lot of fans hated it. Now I hear very little negative comments about the on-track product. On the flip side, Atlanta was a must-watch race. Now I have 2 weeks that I can plan stuff on those weekends. David at DW Turner 16. Atlanta had gotten stale and boring. The reconfiguration completely turned it around. So very vice versa takes there from Mick and David. Will it run its course? Probably, but until then, it's can't miss attendance for me. And see, that's what I love. We're all fans. We all are fans for different reasons. We all, are attracted to different things there, which is perfect. For me, it was, when I first started really getting into the sport in the, we'll call it 2001, 2002 time period. For me, at that particular point in time, it was the road courses. That was the weekends. Okay, all right, I don't have to worry about it. I didn't get into it. I didn't like it. Now I'm the exact opposite. Now I'm all about it, right? And it's crazy that flip-flop there. And the other race for me, and I've talked about this, is it's Pocono. That was a race that I just that was a snooze fest, and that was all right, let me know that Denny Hamlin won, and I will, check in next week with you guys. Honestly, the podcast is the real reason when I was, as I talked about earlier in the show, when I'm doing 40 plus shows, and I want to talk about every single race, that's when my newfound love for Pocono kind of came to be. And as of late, the racing has definitely been a lot better there. So thank you for everyone's feedback and takes and all of that good stuff. I appreciate it. All right, let's keep things rolling. Let's do a little Lap Traffic social media. Everybody, make sure you check out the website, thelaptrafficpodcast.com. TikTok, Twitch, Instagram, Twitter, all at Lap Traffic PC. If you've made it this far into the show, leave a review. Don't forget, I've got free stickers and koozies for you. All you have to do is reach out to me, at me on Twitter, DM, email, send out or fill out the contact page on the website, thelaptrafficpodcast.com. Give me your name, address, send it out to you. I will definitely do another giveaway before the season's over, or maybe do a season-ending giveaway, something along those lines. Maybe we'll throw something Kevin Harvick in there, just because, obviously had him on a couple, with the Michigan race and it being his last season. We'll see what we can piece together there. Okay, let's see. Okay, wow. All right. It is time to wrap this thing up. I thought I had one more page of notes to talk about, and I don't. So it is time to close this thing out with a little Lapped Traffic Fantasy. And don't forget, get your picks in by 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on Thursday. And the big thing, and this is what's going to make things very interesting this year, is the fact that we are going from 24 to 12 players. And I love the fact, as I'm going to read the standings here in a minute, it is very possible for someone that's in, call it, 18th to maybe go and make it to the round of 12. But before I get to all of that, a lot of players picked up some bonus points, myself included, with John Hunter Nemechek. This past weekend, weekly high was our friend John Entwistle, all the way down in Australia with 156 points. He had Hamlin, John Hunter Nemechek, and Corey Heim. My picks: Kyle Busch, John Hunter Nemechek, Zane Smith. Favored fairly well for me, as well, as you'll see here in the standings. Here we go. Here is our playoff as we head into the cutoff race this weekend at Bristol. Oh, and speaking of which, make sure you get your picks in, because it's a Thursday night truck race. So don't forget about that. Okay, here we go. In first place has unseated unseeded Andrew Yu, who dominated the regular season. Benton Wilson is in first with 259 points. Dan Sherwood in second with 251. Yours truly, top three, 238. Steven, DFS NASCAR guy, in fourth, 236. John Etwinsel, fifth, 232. David Mullins in sixth, 227. Kevin Hahn, seventh, 224. Joe Hewson, 8, 221. David James, 9th, 219. Mark Luddington, 10th, 213. You see the trend here, everybody? Matt Dombrowski in 11th, 211. Jonathan Lilly and Michael Nebbia are tied in 12th at the cutoff line with 204. Kristen Hoagland in 13th with 200. Andrew Yu is in 14th with 195. Jumpy Bob, 15th, 192. Logan Cummings, 16th, 192. Pete Curvin, 17th, 188. Tony LeBay, 18th, 187. Henry Fletcher, 19th, 184. Scott Boys, 20th, 175. Jeremy Waterbury, 21st, 174. Michael Mason, 22nd, 175. Michael Vickers is the lone wolf down there at the bottom with 145. Now, Mike, I'm sorry. I love you, brother. But it may take a miracle for you to advance to the next round. I'd say the same thing for Michael Mason, Jeremy Waterbury, Scott Boys, Henry Fletcher, Tony LeBay, maybe creeping up into the realm of possibilities at 184, 187, with the cutoff being 204. But Logan Cummings, Jumpy Bob, Andrew Yu, Kristen Hoagland, it is not over. Also the possibility, maybe David James, Joe Hewson at 219, 221, maybe they slip this weekend. So it is definitely not over in terms of who is going to make it to the round of 12. Okay, let's get to the picks. Everybody, it's Bristol, baby. We are going back to the last great Coliseum. We are going racing under the lights at Bristol, and there will not be any dirt on the track. Thank the Lord for that. Chris Buescher won this race last year, has been on a roll as of late because we see Chris Buescher back in victory lane. I wouldn't be surprised. Kevin Harvick won this race back in 2020 when we all thought he was well on his way to his second championship. That was the last race he won that year and is still looking for his first win of his last year of racing and is sitting on the cut line. Could we see the Freaky Fast 4 car in victory lane? What 12 drop? What 12 move on in lap traffic fantasy? We will find out this weekend. Racing kicks off early. Let's get to the picks. My truck pick, I am going to stick with the 38 back-to-back weeks, and I am going to stick with Old Reliable in the Xfinity Series with John Hunter Nemechek. Here is where the surprise pick maybe for me comes into play. I am going to go with the 24 of William Byron in the Cup race. And, HMS seems to be strong at Bristol, obviously. So we will see what that does for me. All right, Lap Traffic Nation, that is going to do it for episode 321 of the Lap Traffic Podcast. Make sure you check out the website, thelaptrafficpodcast.com, Facebook, TikTok, Twitch, Instagram, Twitter, all at Lap Traffic PC. Huge thanks to NASCARCASM for coming on to the show. We will see what we can possibly put together for next week. Don't get caught chasing the lucky dog. Tune in each and every week to the Lap Traffic Podcast. See ya.